Before starting my own music library, I spent 7 months as an unpaid intern doing keywording or metadata for a major music library. From there, I've earned my position working as a music supervisor for them for 7 years until ultimately I started my own library. And I know a lot of different tricks and how important it is to have the proper metadata. I'm sure as a musician, if you ever spent any time uploading on TikTok or YouTube, you know how important it is to have certain keywords within your videos. The same thing applies with your music, except on another level. The tools we're gonna be using in this video are Chat GPT, Google Sheets, as well as disco.ac. So this is the Google Sheets template that we're gonna be using. So the most common info you need for your metadata are going to be the track title, the composers, the IPI number with the PRO, your publishing, as well as the genre, keywords and moods, description, length, BPM, tempo, lyrics, if you have lyrics in your track, contact information, your ISRC code, and your PRO code. Now, if there's multiple master owners or different master owners on the track, you can include that within your metadata as well. Let's go over each individual section. Now, track title, pretty self-explanatory, it's just the name of your track. Composers, if there's multiple composers or multiple writers on the track, multiple artists, anybody who's included on the track needs to be added to the composer section with their PRO, the Performing Rights Organization, as well as their IPI number. Now, if you don't know your IPI number, you can either search the ASCAP or BMI search repertoire, or you can actually look on your dashboard on your PRO and it should have the actual information for your IPI number on there. Now, publishing, if you don't have a publisher, in some cases you can actually use your writer's information here, or if you're pitching it to an exclusive library, you can leave it blank for them to add that information themselves. Genre, you want to put the genre here. I usually like to put a main genre and a subgenre. And then keywords. Just like SEO, when a director, a showrunner, an editor, a music supervisor, music coordinator, whoever is looking for music for their project, they can extract that information by searching these keywords and it can pop up on the top of their list. So having precise keywords, super key, can really help you in the long run. Something you can use that I've put together is a cheat sheet of the most common keywords or feelings that you may see within sync licensing. I've also added things for myself that I've done, which is Netflix projects. So if there's like a main category like animal tales, right? And then I want to put a subcategory of orchestral or cinematic, I can put that. So I use these Netflix genres too as well, because these are the Netflix genres of all the different shows. Sometimes I like to source out information from these different genres of Netflix. Lastly, I've included Spotify genres. I can look at these different genres on Spotify and add that into my metadata. Next up, we have description. This is another great place to put in keywords. This is really good for metadata as well. Not every company will ask for a description. Having it in your metadata can really help with the search queues whenever someone's looking up the track information. Something I'm going to point out later is how many characters can fit in certain boxes when you're adding in things like Disco or Apple Music. So we need to keep that in mind later on when we're entering in our information. Next up, we have the track length. It's always good to add the actual track length and then the BPM of the track. Some people may ask you to put the key of the track. Most cases you won't need it, but in some cases you may. To wrap it up, I like to do tempo. I go slow tempo, mid tempo, or up tempo. This is different pacing. These are keywords that can be included in your actual track, and a lot of times these keywords are used on searches. Next up is lyrics, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you don't have lyrics, you can leave this blank. Contact information, super important to put your contact information. Let's come up with a scenario. Let's say a music supervisor downloads your track and they put it together with 10 different tracks, but they don't remember where they got the tracks from. When they download that track and they open up that track and they can see your contact information, this is key because they can reach out to you and let you know that your track is one of the few that is selected for possible placement opportunities. If you don't have this information there and they download it and they don't remember where they downloaded it from, you can lose the chance of getting placed. So this is super important. Make sure you include your contact, either an email and a phone number. Lastly, ISRC codes, which is the International Recording Codes, and then a PRO code. Now, ISRC codes, in some cases, you can get it from distribution. So if you upload to sites like DistroKid, they'll create an automatic ISRC code for you. If not, you can create your own ISRC codes by signing up for this ISRC code site. It does cost a one-time fee, but it covers about 10,000 tracks. So it lasts for a very, very long time. Lastly, the PRO code. You can go to ASCAP search repertoire to find this, but after your track is registered, it'll create a work ID or a PRO code. You can add this code into your metadata. When a music supervisor, music coordinator, music associate, whoever is inputting the information for a cue sheet, this is where all the music is used on a TV show or a film, they can properly accredit the writers associated with the track. So we like to put the PRO code if you do register your track. That way that information is all set there. Now, some libraries, like I mentioned before, will register your track for you, so you may not have to worry about this information. But if you're pitching non-exclusive or independently to music supervisors yourself, this is a great way to make sure that the music supervisor has all the information they need to properly accredit you for your song. The PRO code will help bring up the track. That way the supervisor can see the information associated with the track. Now let's go over how we can import this information into Disco. We'll see how it looks on Apple Music. And then finally, we'll wrap it up by showing you how to speed up the process using Chat GPT. So I've uploaded a track that we have in our library, Super Selective. This is a track I created. And let's listen to how this track sounds. And then we'll go ahead and enter in the metadata for that information. So very similar to the metadata template we've already reviewed, we're going to use Disco to enter in all this information that was on that sheet. So the artist, we're going to put Super Selective. This is the name of the library. Technically, I'm the artist, and so I'm going to put my information here. I'm going to put my name, and then in parentheses, I'm going to put BMI. So let's go over genre for this track. This track is a drum and bass track, electronic track, but I also can see it being used for action scenes or high intensity scenes. So we're going to include some of those keywords later on in this track. We put drum and bass, we put electronic, BPM is 135. I'm gonna add the release date to today. The year released was 2024. Grouping is the area that I can put in my contact information on Disco. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a fake contact info here. We can use commas to separate the spaces. That way it still shows up in the metadata when we export this track and upload it or add it to iTunes or any other media players that the supervisors or directors may be using when listening to the track. So now that we have the contact information in, let's add a brief description of the track. High intensity, energetic, electronic, drum and bass, underscore for intense and action or adrenaline moments. I'm also going to put my contact information here and something that's super important for this comment section. A lot of this information that you enter in could be cut off depending on how many characters the field actually limits. So for example, comment sections typically cut off after 255 characters. So each space, each comma, each little individual character that's entered in here is very important. We can use Chat GPT later to check how many characters are in this section, but I believe I should be good. ISRC, this is where we can put the ISRC code that we reviewed earlier. So I'm going to use one of the ones that I had showed you in the metadata template as an example. For lyrics, we can leave this blank. And for writers, we'll go ahead and add my information here. So I'm going to add my first and last name. I'm also going to add my IPI number and my PRL number here in this section as well. The reason being is because the IPI number and the PRL number may not always show up on Disco when you're exporting it. So having this here and this information is going to help the music supervisor know who is responsible for creating this track and easily source this info. Now that we have that, we put the proper percentages and then we put the PRO, which would be BMI. Now we're gonna move into the fun part, which is adding tags. Disco has pre-tags that you can actually add in within their database. We're gonna go ahead and start using some of these keywords that we mentioned earlier. Using this keyword cheat sheet, let's look up some keywords that may be in here. So we can see adrenaline's in here. Adventurous is another good one. Now we can add more keywords here, but we want to keep them accurate. So it's not about the amount of keywords that you use, it's about the accuracy of the keywords that you use. I recommend anywhere between 12 to 25 keywords per track. Something I forgot to mention is that your PRO number, that code that we got earlier, the work ID code we got from ASCAP after the track is registered, can be entered here. We're going to go ahead and save that, export it, and we're going to view how it looks in Apple Music. We're going to download it in MP3 or AIF. If we download it in WAV, we're not going to be able to see the metadata because metadata does not stick to WAV files, only MP3 and AIF. Now that we have this track uploaded onto iTunes or Apple Music, we're going to go ahead and right click it and you're going to scroll down to song info. This is another way you can enter in your metadata. Now remember, anything that is WAV is not going to stick. So you want to make sure it's AIF or MP3, and we can enter in that same information that you saw from the metadata template sheet or Disco or any other platform that you use. You can view this information here and import it the same way that I've showed you using Disco or the metadata template. Now we have the song title here. We have the artist, which is super selective. We're going to go ahead and look at the BMI information so we can see that the IPI number is stuck, as well as the publishing, which is really important. Contact information is included here, which is perfect for any music supervisors, directors, anybody who's looking at our music to make sure they have our contact information. We have the genres here, the year it was released. You don't have to worry about track or disc number unless it's part of an album. You can scroll down here, see the BPM was added, and we can see that everything up to Adrenaline was added in the metadata. So this is why having 255 characters is super important. We can see we added some artwork, lyrics would go here. That's all the information we pretty much need within this track. We have the keywords, description, contact information, genre, writer, IPI, the publishing, all that information is included within this track. So something I do to speed up the process is I created myself a custom Chat GPT prompt. So anytime we do metadata for super selective, I enter in a small prompt that enters all the information that we just reviewed into Chat GPT, so I can easily copy and paste it to either my metadata template, Disco, or wherever I'm inputting my metadata information. This is how it may look. Let's write a small prompt for this track that we just reviewed and see what information it gives us. So I put in, I need a MDP, which is a metadata prompt, something I created within Chat GPT for an adrenaline-driven, high-intensity drum and bass electronic _ instrumental. It would work for action scenes. The composer is NAFX, which is my initials within our music catalog. It enters in all my information as the writer's information with my IPI number, and we can check that against my actual IPI number, which matches up here. We can see that it created a track description. Whenever I put in a small description, all of the information that I need for my metadata automatically exports to make it a lot easier, a lot quicker for myself to import this information. That way I can copy and paste and adjust if needed. Real quick, anytime you see the word perfect in your track description, delete it immediately. That is a no-no when you're submitting your music for a music supervisor. Never tell the music supervisor or anybody that you're pitching your music to that your music would be perfect for a scene. They don't even know if the tracks that they're pitching are going to be perfect for the scene. So it's important not to use words like perfect. Switch it out for ideal or fits well. Anything along those lines. Never say that it's perfect for a scene whenever you're pitching or whatever you have metadata description. Very important. I also have it where it exports artwork descriptions. If I ever need artwork that I need to use Midjourney for, I can add this prompt in there. It also gives me 25 keywords. So I have different keywords that maybe I didn't even include within Disco myself to help me easily put this information in. And then this comment section, this should reach 255 characters or under it. So we're going to ask, how many characters is the comment section info? So we see that it's 210, which is within the 255 character limit. If you would like to see the prompt that we're using for ChatGPT, we do have a sync licensing community. I don't mean to gatekeep, but I really am passionate about this community, and we give different insight like this of how you can optimize your sync licensing career. So if you're looking for more information of how to set something like this up, this will be one of the live mentorship sections we have within our Heat Academy community, which we focused on sync licensing tactics, advanced and professionalism sync licensing techniques. You can find that information in the chat description below. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.